You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Now, you said, Christopher, that you have something going on with a theme with today's bumper music, right?
Correct.
Okay, and what is that?
Can you guess the 90s sitcom theme?
This one, I think I can. Dan, can you?
It's Will Smith.
Yep.
And the Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes.
That is correct.
That's right. Okay, well, you're good. Thank you very much.
Woohoo!
Well, hey, folks, thanks for taking some time today to be with us. This is Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. Also brought to you by American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency, and Extreme Exteriors. You can count on Extreme Exteriors for expert installation of exterior siding, roofing soffits, fascia, decks, windows, and more. With their knowledge and experience, they can design the perfect solution to make your home beautiful and energy efficient, saving you maintenance and money for years to come. Give them a call at 763-441-1334 and tell them Gene sent you. Well, let's get right back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about what appears to be a real arbitrary nature of HUD in going through and approving recertification for FHA financing for properties. It used to be that that could be done what would be called, I think, spot approval for individual homes in associations. But a few years ago, government said, I think we need to make it a requirement that all condominium associations need to go through and prove every 2 years that they are worthy of having folks be able to receive FHA financing when they want to refinance or purchase a home in that property. And we're talking with Dan Greenstein from Bernick Lifson about this. Dan, it certainly seems kind of arbitrary. What have been some of the worst requirements in your eyes that have been required by FHA that makes it difficult for an HOA?
Well, one thing has been somewhat of a moving target. It used to be that, in an association, you couldn't have more than 25% of the units in rental or non-owner occupied. During the tough real estate times after 2008, they now changed it to 50. And then in 2011, they came out with a new investor guideline, which said, a unit in which an investor lives, a building or a project in which an investor owns units, he cannot own more than 10% interest in the units. Let me just say that again so it's clear. One owner cannot own more than 10% of the units in an association.
Yeah.
And, they've got different delinquency guidelines which have changed. They changed again in 2011. So no more than 15% of the total number of units in this condominium can be 30 days delinquent or more. And, over the last 5 to 10 years with delinquencies very high, that's been a really tough requirement to meet for a lot of associations.
Yeah. And, for them to have some of the requirements, they aren't bad that they're even asking or requiring them, because they're saying, hey, if anything goes wrong, we're going to be, we're guaranteeing a loan here, to the mortgage, to the lender. But some of the things it just makes you wonder. There's some people in some ivory tower somewhere who has no idea what it means to live in an association and what the unintended consequences are to some of these edicts. That 10% ownership thing has been very egregious, especially if you had a developer who got caught with owning 50% of the units that he couldn't sell, and he's now staying on, renting them out, trying to be responsible so the other association members don't have to have
Exactly.
only 50% full. But now they can't get FHA financing because of that. That just seems ridiculous.
Well, there's, on the other side of that coin, the FHA will not allow many restrictions on leasing. One of the frequent calls that I get from associations is, hey, we've got too many investors coming around and too many people not living here renting. We really would like to restrict the number of units in our association that are rental units. And while the FHA will allow that, subject to their maximum of 50% of the units, they put in a lot of other provisions that make it very difficult for the association. They have a requirement on the terms of the lease that they put in there. They don't let a prospective tenant have to be approved by the association or have any creditworthiness testing. So, in other words, the association who's going to have this tenant living on site, they have no ability to do any background check or creditworthiness check of any tenant. So they don't, it's not necessarily just a financial decision from the FHA to protect their investment. It goes beyond that to what they believe is kind of the most optimum housing for all owners and tenants.
That's right. Yeah, it's one of the things that I remembered about this time last year that they threw in that we hadn't seen ever before, and that was all of a sudden there was this requirement. They said they were interested in the language in the governing documents, because if there was language in there that said that the association was prohibiting rentals of less than 30 days, that they said that they thought that was considered being discriminatory, and they weren't approving recertification last year at this time because of that. But there was a lot of pushback, and I think we finally saw that change before the summer was out. But there were a lot of people that went through the headache of not being certified for quite some time.
Exactly. And again, that goes back to the kind of moving target that I think any association that has to apply every other year has to stay on top of what their latest position is and what the latest requirement is, and make sure that when they apply, they're meeting all those changes.
Yeah. So the bottom line with all of this is if there is a self-managed association out there or others that are even professionally managed and they're going through recertification, just understand that the process could take time, and it's not unusual to get these packets bounced back, and you may have to do some more explaining in order to push the approval through.
Exactly. And like we said earlier, if they send back your application, even for a recertification, they are probably going to treat you as not being certified until you fix that application.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that's one thing to be prepared for, but boy, I don't know any way around it unless they are willing to understand that aspect, and hopefully they will. But, Dan, can you stay with us for another segment?
Be happy to.
Great. We've got one other question we'd like to ask him, but we'll take a break right now. Don't go away. A lot more of Where You Live after these messages.